hopelessly lost.
So the way I've got it for my mouse is I've got yaw and pitch with relative mouse on. There's a mouse reset button, which I never use, but if you're not using relative mouse, that is quite useful. My mouse sensitivity is quite low, but I've also got quite a high DPI on my actual mouse input. My relative mouse rate is all the way to the right hand side. People might recommend sort of nearer to here, but basically it's whatever's comfortable. The relative mouse is the speed at which your mouse will return to a 0 position. So let me turn on the mouse widget and turn off relative mouse, and this is going to look really hectic for a second. But if you see from the mouse widget, which is a dot in the center, if I push it in a direction, it shows what the mouse is outputting. So you can see the arrow is pointing in that direction, so it's outputting in that direction. If I center the mouse, then it centers the output. It's put me into assisted flight, so that's how it will be in assisted flight. If you turn off assisted flight, because you have to actively counter everything you're doing, if you go out in a direction, you then have to center the mouse, and then you have to go out in the opposite direction to provide the opposite thrust. If you have relative mouse, it will automatically center for you. So you don't have to move the mouse to get to the center point before you start applying the opposite thrust.
Cool. That's good.
Think of it like...
I tried to have it on yaw instead of roll, but I cannot do it with yaw. I have it on roll. My mouse x-axis is on roll instead of yaw.
It's a personal preference.
Yeah, I couldn't do it on yaw in any case.
Yeah. The way that I've got the thrusters set up is for thrust left I have Q, for thrust right I have R, so those are the lateral thrusters, port and starboard.
Yes, Q and R you have.
Yeah, a lot of people have Q and E instead, but I have Q and R. For thrust up, I've got E and D.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
And then if people are doing it so that they've got the thrust right on E instead, they'll usually have R and F. So it's just which way around they have the starboard thrust versus the vertical thrusters.
So I think I'm gonna do the way it is, the thrusters left and right. I think I got used to them a little bit this way, so I'm gonna leave that like that. But I'm gonna thrust forward, gonna put this. Yeah. I don't know why. This...
And I think Colo uses tab and caps lock for the thrust up and down because I mean I guess that's where she finds it more useful. So it's really about where your hand feels comfortable, as opposed to any sort of hard and fast rule. Also, hi Dr. Weird in the chat.
Sorry, Snatch Man. Sorry, I don't know how to say your name. It's Bernard, who's streaming with me. Let me just do another one of these. Another one of these. That's the person that I'm streaming with. He's an amazing person and teaching me a lot of stuff. So I have a question. If I put the thrust forward and the thrust backward as W and S, the increase it says
throttle
to me
it would replace your throttle.
Yeah.
I think, and I might be wrong, but I think that if you have throttle set as W and S, when you're in flight assist off, that will automatically act as thrusters.
Oh, okay.
But I have incremental throttle instead, so I don't use throttle in the same way.
Okay, so I'm gonna try it like this, and we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's apply. And I think that's the main ones that you'd want. So the mouse and then your... Oh, it also need rotation. Flight rotation.
Yeah, I think I have the flight rotations on to...
Yeah, so... So I've got roll as A and F, which is directly beneath the lateral thrusters. So you would probably want yaw on A and F.
Roll on...
Because you've got roll on your mouse, so you don't need roll on the keyboard, but you don't have anything for yaw, so you would want something for yaw.
Okay, I'd want for yaw. Wait, cancel? Cancel. Okay. So yaw roll, what? Wait.
No, not the yaw roll button. The yaw roll button might be useful to an extent, but you want to look at the yaw axis, your left and your right.
Yes, those are apparently A and D for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. So because I've got my starboard controls outboard on R and F, then you'd want them on E and D because you've got your vertical thrusters on R and F, I think.
Yes, my vertical thrusters are on R and F.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, carry on.
yeah, I was gonna ask if that's just this is what's good for now, which is fine. Hopefully, let's see how much I fail.
I mean, the main thing is that you have everything accessible to you, and what you might decide is you change everything as you go because that depends. Like it changes what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, we'll see. Because
I'm going to
as
turn
far
off
as
that mouse widget. Sorry.
let's find you guys. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Let's find you guys.
Brother, do you have access to the Martian Bakery Discord
I think
so you
he's
can join
there,
us
but
in
I
chat?
don't think I can hear him very well.
Yes, I'm in there.
Ah, he's just silent.
Hi.
Okay, I was just making sure that you weren't silent because you weren't able to communicate.
Where can I
I've
make it
not
so
got
that I
relative
don't have
mouse
to
on.
hold Z? Just turn it on. It's not supposed to be. Just put it on toggle instead of the way you have it right now. Oh gosh. Okay, let's.
Yeah, if you go to the settings, Neutrino. I don't know if you can see my stream. Is it flight miscellaneous?
Let me show you now.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be so bad.
In controls under flight miscellaneous, it's then an option of toggle flight assist, and you want to make sure the button mode is toggle instead of hold.
Yeah.